All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Pride in Panels. My name is Christina Mitra. I am the program manager for the Hormel LGBTQIA Center, which is located on the third floor of this building. If you've never been there, please head up there. We've got workshops going on this afternoon, and we have more exhibitors up on the third floor, so please make your way up to the third. I appreciate the clap for the Hormel Center. It's our 30th year of being a premier beacon for LGBTQI everything, history, culture, creativity, and we still remain very unique in that we were the very first center of our kind in a municipal government building, and we still are the only center of our kind in an urban public library. Not only are we books and programs and exhibitions, but we're also queer archives. So if you want to know anything about that, give me a holler. Thank you all. So I do want to do just a land acknowledgement to acknowledge that we are here on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. And we recognize that the Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and have maintained harmony with nature for millennia. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth, and as Indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never lost, ceded, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place, as well for all people who reside in their traditional territory. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and as uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay respect to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. We respectfully honor Ramaytush people and must embrace and collaborate meaningfully to record Indigenous knowledge and how we care for San Francisco and all its people. Thank you. So just a few quick thank yous. This is the first of 4 amazing panels, so please tell your friends, and I hope that you'll stay with us all afternoon. I want to thank the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library who have made it possible for this entire event to be free. I want to thank specifically Howard A. Cooper. He bequested a significant amount to the Hormel Endowment, and we are thanking Mr. Cooper today for his help to make this free. Our media services team is doing all the back-end work to make sure that we sound and look good, and our custodial team who set up all the tables and chairs to make this possible. Finally, just the organizing board, Justin Hall, Avi Ehrlich, Laura Gao, Malcolm Johnson. These are your community artists and creators and just champions who came to the library and said, can we make this possible? And we said yes, and it's just been amazing to do it together. I finally want to just invite our fabulous sister, Venus in Furs, who's going to kick us off with a blessing. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much. I am Sister Venus in Furs of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. I'm here with novice sister Rose Above It and her pup, and it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be invited to offer this blessing to you all. Blessed be all those in need in our preposterously wealthy society, and blessed be all the helpers, and that includes all the helpers here who have made this event happen today. Spread the love. I love this show so much. Blessed be our LGBTQIA plus community, and particularly our trans brothers and sisters who are dealing with especially despicable crap right now. We all stand together. Blessed be all those who come to this country looking for the freedom and dignity we are always crowing about. And the hell with those who try to divide us. And no kids in here. Fuck ICE. Blessed be all those who came before us, who stood up to injustice and fought for emancipation, for women's rights, for workers' rights, for civil rights, for gay rights, for immigrants' rights, for trans rights, and for human rights. We stand on the shoulders of brave people who often put up with worse than we have yet to go through to get us here, and we're not going back. And bless all of you, our community, for showing up and making this happen and reminding us all what we are fighting to have in our lives and not give up on. So, by the honor vested in me, by the order of the I am such an airhead. A minor digression. One other thing we sisters do is we honor those in our communities who uplift us with their words and actions. And we do this by conferring our highest and only civilian honor, being proclaimed a saint of the order. Our saints include Harvey Milk, Margaret Cho, Alison Bechtel got her at Comic-Con last year, George Takei, lots and lots of people out there uplifting our communities every day. And at the first of these, 2 years ago, we were planning to ambush Trina Robbins. Unfortunately, she took ill before, passed shortly after. She was proclaimed at her memorial. But I'm still bumming out about that because sainthood is always an ambush, and it's so beautiful. You know, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, nobody expects us. Our chief weapon is surprise. So with that in mind, Justin Hall. I made Elliot Page cry too. So yeah, you were nominated, Justin. Voted up by acclamation, but it's not that simple. You can't just vote up a saint, can you? No, you need something else. What do you need? A miracle. Pagans. Thank you, novice. Yes, in fact, well, actually 2, but I will count Pride in Panels as the first. You get credit for that. For the second, novice Sister Rose is here to arbiter your miracle.
What's 1 plus 1? What's 2 times 2?
He made the fish and loaves multiply. It is a miracle. Therefore, Justin Hall, by the honor vested in me by the order of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence Incorporated, it is my duty, my honor, and my privilege to proclaim you Saint Zeitgeistian. Noble nexus of the queer cartooniverse and patron saint of sublimely curvy lines. It is decreed that from this day forward, your transgressions shall be reduced to mere fluff in the eyes of the goddess who knows all and forgives all. I'm taking advantage of that. Your good works shall be remembered in honor and in perpetuity. You shall forever stand as a pillar of strength in the community. And Gooble Gobble, one of us, you are perpetually allied with the order of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Therefore, this sainthood is forever proclaimed this Sunday, February 15th, 2026, in the presence of the community and the order of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Everyone, please, amen. Amen. Our women. And the rest of us. Thank you so much. Congratulations. We now return you to your original programming.
Oh my God.
I'm a little shaky, but we have a panel to get to. Okay. Collecting my coolness. Okay, here we go. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm a saint. And I have I get transgressions. I've got free pass. Is that fluff? Just fluff. Okay, that's good. Okay. All right. So, queer memoir.
Your face is so red right now.
Okay, we are gathered here today for a wonderful discussion about queer memoir comics, which is a genre which I have a lot of excitement and affinity for. We're gonna, with this incredible panel of just wonderful creators. So we're gonna have you all introduce yourselves. We'll start over here at the far end here.
Let's see. Oh, I can hear myself. Okay. My name is Ajuan Mance, and I'm a writer and illustrator based in Oakland. And my memoir comic is called Gender Studies, True Confessions of an Accidental Outlaw.
I'm Nicole Georges. I've been making diary comics for 30 years. And I have 2 graphic memoirs, Calling Dr. Laura and Fetch How a Bad Dog Brought Me Home. And I'm working on another one right now. That's it.
Hi, everyone. I'm filling in for Maya Kobabe, who got sick and can't be here. So I'm so sorry that I'm not Maya Kobabe. But I'm Shay Mirk, and I mostly make nonfiction comics. So I make comics about my life. I make comics about other people's lives. These days, I'm the publisher at Crucial Comics. We publish nonfiction comics, and I'm the author of the book Making Nonfiction Comics. We didn't have a chance to put any slides for me in the presentation, so instead I went analog, and I brought a couple memoir comics and zines that I made and just handed them out. So if you could just read them, pass them along, and then if you just leave them on your chairs or at the back at the end, I'll pick them up again. So that's my analog version of the slides today.
My name's Mara Ramirez, and I had a book come out last autumn named Flea from Field Mouse Press that we'll be talking about in this panel today.
Oh, and Ponyo Georges, my dog, will be on the panel intermittently. She's the star of a lot of diary comics. And if you see her outside of her, she's very friendly, but she's blind, so don't wait for her to come to you, because it's not going to happen.
Panya's a rock star, for sure. Yeah. Maybe, so I'm going to ask this set of questions. I want to have a conversation, and feel free to sort of popcorn in whenever you have something to say, you want to say about it. But maybe I'll start with you, Shay, in the sense of trying to figure out where memoir comics sit in the pantheon of nonfiction comics. Like why first turn to nonfiction as opposed to fiction, and then why specifically tell stories about your own life, and how is that different from other kinds of nonfiction comics?
Yeah, I started making memoir comics when I was a teenager. Just naturally, I wanted to document the world and draw my friends and show what was going on. And it's really surprising to me these days now when I work with teens and I teach classes for teens, a lot of teens are nervous to write about themselves. And they would rather write a science fiction or a fantasy story. And I'm like, man, when I was a teenager, I was dying to tell everyone about me, and be like, here's my thoughts and feelings. And so I think that was just an impulse within me, and I think within a lot of artists, is to just create. It's not like you do it because you've actually 100% thought it through. It's like an impulse. You just have to make something and share it with the world. And that's still what's driving my comics these days. I mostly make comics to process my thoughts and feelings. The world is so difficult to understand and comprehend right now, and hard to make sense of. So I use memoir comics as a way to try and just process what I'm even thinking and feeling, whether it's about the political environment or what's going on in my relationships and dating life. I think comics are really useful for processing that way. And it's really cool, even comics that have more journalistic, where you're interviewing somebody else, there's a real tradition of putting yourself into it. So even the work of a lot of nonfiction artists that's like interviewing other people or going other places, writing about those stories, they still put themselves in there as a narrator. And I think that's really influenced by the tradition of memoir comics and diary comics.
Nicole, you started as a teenager making memoir comics in particular, right? Diary comics. Like, what was the impulse for you doing it so young, beginning so young?
I was really influenced by confessional Riot Girl zines, and then I also got profoundly influenced by James Kachalka's American Elf and King Cat by John Porcellino. The thing that I got from confessional Riot Girl zines was people talking about things that I had never heard anyone talk about in public, talking about like abuse, racism, sexism, sizeism, classism, ableism, like homophobia, like all kinds of things that they were experiencing on the day-to-day from a first-person perspective. And it was really profound because these were, some of these were things that I had experienced in my day-to-day life, or like child abuse or whatever. And there was something very affirming about reading that from somebody else. And so I just wanted to do for other people what those had done for me, even as a young person. And I just needed to see, I grew up in such a chaotic place, I needed to see my reality somewhere where it was stable. And the page is a place where your reality can be stable when the story is changing outside of you all the time.
Mara and Ajuan, like when did you all start making memoir comics, and how did that work for you?
Is that okay? In high school, I was really obsessed with like oversharing, I think.
I don't know anything about that.
I literally, my concept for high school was vulnerability. Like, that's what I talked about in my artist statement for like college and stuff. And so I had to learn a lot about, part of that I think came from not seeing myself reflected in things, and really just like really wanting to feel seen, not feeling seen in my family. I'm definitely like a black sheep in my family. There's no artists. I grew up in Rohnert Park. There's just not a lot of art or anything really that was like me. And so I similarly found Riot Girl zines on Tumblr, and also just the sex positive things on Tumblr that were really powerful to me, and queer on things on Tumblr. And I really ran with that, and I actually started making zines first. And I made a sex ed zine called Stuff You Don't Dare Ask Mom. And I had asked all my friends to like ask me questions and I'll figure it out. So yeah, I think now with working with characters and working with memoir, it's almost like relearning how to be vulnerable because I've learned better boundaries and things. So now I'm playing with that again, and it's really beautiful. It's really fun.
Boundaries are terrible for memoir artists.
Yep.
I guess I would say I came to comics late in life. I've been reading comics really since probably 1984, 85, when I started reading, encountering women's comics, gay comics, Love and Rockets. But I always looked at it, and I've been drawing and thought of myself in some ways as an artist my whole life, like probably everybody up here. But I always looked at comics and said, "Oh, that is too much work." But once I started illustrating and doing zines, I met people like John Macy and Ed Luce, people like Justin, who said, "You should do comics." And I thought, "Oh, it's so much work." And
Sorry.
and then in 2014, I don't know what happened, I decided, all right, let me give this a try. And I decided to write about myself because some of the comics I admired the most were autobiographical comics. Of course, Fun Home was really a remarkable work, and I'd been reading Dykes to Watch Out For since I was an undergraduate. And all the comics I really liked, whether they were fiction or memoir, were about kind of everyday life. And even something like Dennis Eichhorn's, the late Dennis Eichhorn's Real Stuff, about finding women, having sex, and fighting people, which was his day-to-day life. And so what I found when I started doing comics, I actually wanted to tell stories about myself that I never wanted to tell in a journal. I could journal usually for about one day, and then I got bored with my boring life. But when I started doing comics and adding illustrations, I realized, well, it's boring, but it's funny. I make myself laugh. I didn't realize it was so funny when my niece's friends all lined up when I went to pick her up from daycare, and they all asked me, "Are you a boy?" Are you a girl? Every single time. It never got old. And so it's just been really wonderful to find this way of reflection. Reflecting through comics has really changed the way that I look at my own art. I've done self-portraits now, which I had never done before. That's my path. Yeah.
That's so interesting that the addition of the visuals made it funny, or sort of changed the nature of the disclosure of the information. That's you mentioned Fun Home, and it's a book. I mean, everybody should read it. It's one of the great memoirs of all time. But it suffered a lot of bans and censorship, as did Maya, who's not here today. Genderqueer, Maya's memoir, is the most banned book in America. So what do you all think it is about queer graphic memoirs that is so terrifying to certain segments of the population?
Well, you can tell what the nasty stuff is right away. like sex. Like you could just see it. Yeah. You could just, if it was a prose book, you would have to kind of read for a while, and then you'd be like, I think there's sex there. But this, you could just open it, and you're like, there it is.
So they're not readers.
Not that there's like such incredible graphic sex in Fun Home or anything, but I don't know.
There's some butts,
There's a couple butts.
Yeah.
Who's afraid of butts? I don't.
Well, I think Nicole nailed it by saying, a lot of times comics deal with stuff that we don't often see on the page or see in media. So racism, sexism, abuse, those are all present in a lot of queer comics. And I think the people who are afraid of those kinds of conversations are more likely to lash out at queer comics. I also think, comics have a really powerful emotional effect. When you're reading them, you're telling the story in your brain. So, for example, in Genderqueer, there's one scene of someone going down on someone else. That's it. That's the only sex, is one scene. But the way that more right-wing people who are trying to ban it talk about it, it's the sexiest book of the last 1,000 years. And I'm like, well, what story are you telling in your brain when you see that one panel? Obviously their brains are like, I'm telling a whole epic narrative here. And so, so because comics are a participatory medium, where we're telling a little movie, we're showing a little movie in our brains, we're reading them and seeing a lot that's outside the panel. I think that affects the bands too, is, people get invested in them and they feel like they're part of it. And so it has a big emotional effect.
I also think the journey to my own, finding my own gender and queerhood, I think that that requires a lot of honesty and reflection to yourself, and I think that is definitely reflected in the comics that we make. It's we're just putting it all out there, and I think that doesn't always happen in other mediums or with non-queer comics even.
And I think it's also one of the reasons why college campuses are seeming so scary to some people today, which is that, you're told, say you're in a community where people don't feel like they can be out. They're there, but don't feel like they can be out. And you're told these people are predators, they're scary, they want to take your life away from you. And then sitting down and reading a graphic memoir from a queer or trans person is like having a conversation. And you read it and you realize, maybe that was a lie, and maybe people told me something that wasn't true. Just like you go onto campus and for the first time in your life, you meet a black person. You're like, oh, maybe they're not scary people at all, unless they want to be. So I think that's also one of those things. You sit down, you read through one of these graphic memoirs, and you realize, that was a lie. What else is that I've been told?
There's so much intimacy. Yeah.
I think the other thing that conservative people are scared of with comics is that people actually read them. You make something a comic and people will pick it up and read it. And so that's one reason why I started working on nonfiction comics, was I was writing articles and making podcasts before, and I felt like, if I make this a comic, someone will actually read it. And so I think that harkens back to why a lot of conservative people wanted to ban comics in the 1950s and made a concerted effort to ban queer comics from then henceforth, because they have an effect. People read them, they pick them up, they're engaged in them. And that's powerful, you know?
I think generationally also, like I work with youth and comics, kids are all right. Comics people, like most of my kids read mostly comics. Yeah. It's really awesome. Yeah. And I didn't have that experience. I didn't get exposed to a lot of comics growing up, and seeing like them get excited about art and these stories, it's really beautiful.
Well, how amazing also to be us be here in this library, which is so supportive of our work. And it used to be that libraries hated us, right? Because there was this idea that comics would lead to juvenile delinquency and illiteracy and homosexuality. So, I mean, they turned me gay for sure. So, but I'm a saint, so whatever.
That's just fluff.
So one of the things about making memoir comics is that you have to draw yourself over and over again, and the truths that you put forward on the page have to be visual as well as textual. So, and whoever wants to respond to this, but what was it like figuring out how to draw yourself?
Well, I'll jump in and say, because I had not drawn myself since I was assigned to do so in high school. And so drawing myself, it was really one of those processes that I thought it was fun to practice radical honesty. It's like, well, I could draw my chin, but I probably need to do more than one. And, to be really honest about, wow, my hair is grayer than I thought. And my partner was really helpful. Was like, I think it's whiter than that. And it's really changed how I do self-portraits also. I think I really want to do my real body shape, and I really want to do my real head shape. And so it's been, it was a great mirror to, because I look in a regular mirror and every day I think, all right, I am 25. But then when I actually drew myself to show other people, I just felt like I wanted to be more true. Yeah.
Is truth always the thing that you're trying to get at with self-representation, or not?
No. I have a couple things to say. Number one, sometimes, I teach graphic memoir through CCA and independently, and sometimes when people are new to drawing, they're trying to draw everyone like anatomically correct and like a perfect human form, and sometimes it's like, no, the thing is for you to find something that you can draw quickly and over again without a lot of labor and struggle. It's like as a teenager or a tween when I wanted to draw Marvel comics and it would take me like 2 hours to draw one person like this, like then you can't make them move, and in a comic you have to draw it over and over again. So it's like, no, it can't be a photograph. But the other thing I wanted to say, which is a little bit of a digression, is when I was drawing Calling Dr. Laura, it involved stories from my childhood that involved child abuse. Oh, look at here. Okay, so you'll notice this is a different style than some of my other stuff that's more grayscale, because as I went to draw from photos from my childhood, I was drawing myself as like a 5-year-old crying, getting screamed at by my mom, and I was like, this isn't fun. I can't do this for 2 years or however long it'll take to make this book. And so I was like, okay, what do I like to draw? What is fun? And this way of drawing moved me through the page faster physically. As I was drawing, it took me an hour to draw this page instead of like 4 hours. Yeah. And so I was spending less time in that memory. And then also I felt I kind of reverse justified it by being like, it actually makes sense because these memories from childhood are locked. They're black and white. They're not, like whereas ones from more recently are more grayscale, more shifting. And these are just kind of set, where it's like, here's the 3 talking points from this memory from childhood, the end.
There's also the nature of cartooniness, right? Like Scott McCloud talks about how it's easier to project yourself into a more cartoony image, right?
Yeah, like Scott McCloud says, like if you're looking at like a light switch cover or something, you can see eyes and a nose, and you can be like, that's me. You see Charlie Brown, you're like, that's me. And the more photorealistic your drawing is, the more someone's like, that's not me. That's Justin.
It's why we all love Snoopy so much.
Yeah.
Mara, your work is really poetic, and I would say in a way that I find really interesting. Like, I think all of us have moments or all of us that maybe make comics that are more sort of have chronological basis and sort of move through the panels, have moments where we digress from that and sort of go into a poetic space. But your comics really seem to live there. So can you talk about presenting yourself in a more poetic aesthetic in comics?
Sure. Well, with Flea, so I come from doing a lot of self-portraiture growing up, and I think part of this comes from having experiencing dissociation. and not really feeling connected to my body. And definitely part of that is my own experience with gender dysphoria. And so what's interestingly enough, generally, I would be trying to kind of how you were saying, like, draw as real as possible, like understand me through doing that. And I feel like Flea was approaching from a completely different angle, where, you know, Flea became not me. Like, it became as me. If she was me in my sketchbook to begin with, but then I was like, what if she was not me at all? And so she has a trans experience, but a really different trans experience to me. And yeah, just kind of looking at, do you guys know that meme of like the guy, he's like on the wall and he's throwing up and it says, me when I was nice, but I should have been mean. Like, she's like me in all the ways that, like, in like a lot of different ways than I am able to express, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's a lot of exploration with that, and I think that's part of the reason that the way that she's drawn is so like feeling her way in. Like, she's the poetry of the way I'm drawing or the way I'm constructing stories is really like dependent on the feeling as opposed to like the story and like the little things that you notice in a moment to construct like meaning out of these little moments, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I love hearing what everyone else says about this question. I feel like I depict myself kind of like Nicole said, very intuitively. Like, this is just the way that I like to draw, and this is fun for me. So I like to be like, okay, I'm just gonna draw and not really worry about it and see what shapes come out of my hand. And that's kind of how I draw myself. It does look like a cartoon version of me, but it's not realistic. And I think myself in my comics, because I'm making comics to like process feelings and emotions, the self in my comics is a lot more anxious than I am in real life. It's like, you know, it's like the 30% of myself that's anxious and is like, what do we do about this? Is like what I'm making comics about. Versus the times when I'm like chill and everything's good, I feel like I have nothing to draw about that. You know, I don't draw like everything was fine today, you know? And then, yeah, I would love to make more comics about like my like queer relationships and dating. I kind of keep that off the page because it feels very private and it involves other people. And when I try to draw a sexy scene, it's just horrible. I was like, it's so cringe. I like can't do it. Like, my hand is literally like, because it just looks so flat on the page. So I really admire artists who can like draw sexy scenes in good ways.
Oh my God.
And
Justin will tell you to do it.
yeah, I'm trying to do it, and I literally like blush while I'm drawing. I'm like, it doesn't look like that. And yeah, a friend of mine like read my comics. I kind of draw myself kind of like, not like, I'm sort of like a potato shape, just kind of like a little bit shapeless. And a friend of mine was like, you need to make a comic called This Potato Fucks.
Oh my God, that's a great. Everyone, don't you think that Shay should do it?
I think.
Yeah, we would all buy that. We would all buy that.
It's unfortunately a great idea, and I should absolutely do it. And I just think I'm crawling towards there with like trying to make myself draw like that, but it's not my comfort zone. So for now, like a lot of the sexy stuff in relationships, I haven't made many comics about, but hopefully in the future, 2030, you guys can all celebrate This Potato Fucks release party.
Can we talk about boundaries really quick?
Yeah.
What are other people's boundaries of what you won't draw? Because like for me, like I don't draw a lot of sex. Like I can't even believe like that I could draw for myself a pair of underwear in my notebook privately and look at it and be like, ooh, like I can't.
Nicole.
Because it's like alchemy. I know. Like once I drew fisting in my journal, and if I see that, I blush and I'm like die. But I don't draw sexy stuff because I'm like I have given so much of my story to other people that I'm like I would like to have romantic things private just for me as they're happening, because you need to set something aside for yourself, or else I feel like I'm just completely I'm a husk.
I do not relate at all. But bless the diversity.
What about you all?
Yeah, boundaries. That's a really fascinating.
I feel like I would draw about sexy stuff if I felt like I nailed it on the drawing.
Yeah.
You know, the other
to
everything
speak.
else I don't really care about. If I nailed it. Mostly I'm like, I don't care about how I draw it. It's just about like getting it on the page and the feeling and self-expression. But because I don't know, the sexy stuff feels like personal and important and also involves somebody else, so I want them to be depicted well. I think if I can get to a point where my drawing skills, where I can capture the emotion and the tactileness that I'm trying to capture. If I can get there, I'll draw it, but right now I'm not there. Yeah.
My boundaries are now, I used to, again, I would make comics to be as vulnerable as possible, and I literally did a comic once in an anthology that was me being diagnosed with my mental illness. And I was like, never again. Upon a lot of time passing, I'm like, wait, actually it was for me to process it, and I think that was really important. But things change, and you outgrow diagnoses or don't align with them or whatever. And it's also just I don't know, that's my boundary. Yeah. Things like that.
I've never thought of doing, sex, explicit sex, or even not so explicit sex, because my comics, when I started doing autobiography, the thing that was most interesting to me were those points where my interactions with other people revealed how little I understand the world around me. And a lot of that happens out in the world. I've been with my partner for 31 years, and I'm sure my partner would also have something to say about sexually explicit material, including them. No, not this life. But, it's, how little people made sense to me when I first moved into the college dorm, or, funny experiences with my niece, and so that's what's really interesting to me to share with other people, and I'm interested in seeing how they can laugh with me, and those that's what comes up for me. I do talk about past relationships, and with my partner I try to draw someone who looks just like them. With other people I try to make sure that if they read the comic they would actually know it was them. But they'd be glad that I gave them a different ethnicity and a different name and a different height. So no one else will know it's them. Yeah.
So we're going to also open this up to questions from the audience. So, but I have one more question before we do that. So sort of piggybacking off of Nicole's question about boundaries, I'm working on a memoir right now, and I'm dealing with the question of you always sort of bend the factual nature of events. Yours,
Do you?
Oh yes. To make the story run better, right? You sort of shift things around, maybe it didn't happen in this particular way, or but how far do you go is the question before it becomes not memoir. My husband is a stickler for factual truth, and tends to call me on it. But I feel like, at least I tell my students, the issue is not actual truth; it's authenticity.
Yes, emotional truth. That's immediately what my brain goes to, is how much can you shift to tell the truth of the situation, to people who don't know you? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't, it's for the wider world.
Yeah, right. Because nobody really cares if you had 2 roommates or 3 roommates or whatever,
No, nobody wants to read about all those extra roommates anyway, But I tell my students, I'm like, it's not journalism. Yeah. It's not journalism, it's memoir, and people know that. And so, if you're saying the emotional truth from your perspective, I have composite characters also to protect people. In Calling Dr. Laura, my girlfriend cheats on me. In real life, she cheated on me with one person and replaced me in our band with another person. And I was like, let's just make this the same person, so the person's less clockable. Let's blend some of the details, because the emotional truth is I got cheated on and replaced in my band. Yeah. The end. Right, people, it doesn't matter to people if they're no, was that 2 people or 1? It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, right, okay. Shay, you're a journalist as well, so how do you feel about this?
I think I have a bunch of different thoughts on this, so I'll try and keep it really short. But in memoir, that the writer is making the choices, especially about what to leave out. So I'm totally okay with leaving any information out that you need to, because the good and bad things about comics is they're super brief in terms of text. So if you need to leave out roommates or leave out family members or leave out years of your life, I think that's totally fine. I think what's important is both hitting that emotional truth, and also if you're giving people a fact, as we're reading, we should hopefully be able to understand what is true from your experience, and if there's anything that's fictional. So as you're reading it, it's your story from your experience. So for example, if you're quoting things you remember from childhood, you probably didn't write all those quotes down, right? You're probably, it's your memory of the experience. So you're recalling, here's what I remember this person saying. If you're being really, if you want to be really thorough, you can check it with the person that you're drawing about and say, do you remember it this way? And if they say yes or no, you could incorporate that. But it's your memory of the experience. What I would say is, like, if you have something that's marking something as true, like let's say you put the date in, let's say we're like 2026, Pride and Panels, San Francisco Public Library. If you have that kind of like, this is a real place, real time, then it should be the real things that happened here. So if you're making a comic about this experience, about getting knighted as the saint, and you mark it as 2026 at Pride and Panels, like, don't then make something happen that happened 10 years ago here. You know, like if you're saying this is real, your audience is going to think that's real, so we should see it as real. But if you don't quite exactly remember what they said to saint you, I think it's fine for you to be like, here's what I remember them saying, you know?
I mean, and my memory is such shit that like everything is just a haze. So like I just. All right, let's open this up to some questions from our audience. Yes, you in the back there.
How do you recommend people who have experience with fiction begin working on memoir and writing about themselves if they have no experience telling stories about themselves or talking about themselves?
I'd start with diary comics. Set an amount of time, like a week, and then you can just take notes every day, or if you want to do 20 minutes at your drawing table every day to sketch out what happened. I think that helps you find the natural story arcs in your life. And it also lets you see like who the characters are in your life and how much you should put in or leave out naturally. That's what I think. That's great. I think diary comics were nice training wheels for me to like collect details every day of what people said, to become an eavesdropper, to get it all down, so then I could put that into my work.
I think that's also a really good way to notice what you notice, because like the things you notice are going to be your style and like how you are communicating your life. Because you're going to notice something really, like somebody who is literally going through the same experience as you is going to remember totally different things. That's why siblings are so different, you know? Going through the same shit.
And I think it depends on whether you're writing about yourself to kind of explore things about yourself, or whether you're using yourself as a vehicle to explore other stuff. And so maybe you are just making notes every day or doing a sketch of, you know, there's the weird thing that happened at the grocery store, or that guy who does bagging is, you know, doing this other thing. And so, you know, memoir also is an excuse to talk about something that isn't you. And so, you know, how you find your way in, I think it might be a little bit easier to find that on-ramp if you're going to be our eyes to see something else.
Yeah, just speaking to like making that on-ramp, I'd say start small. I think everyone has like a big story that they want to tell. They're like, here's the memoir of my life or of my grandmother's life. And you can't just start on like page 1, here's my grandmother's life. Like find a story that's like small enough for you to write and draw about, to practice. And just do like a few panels or a few pages and practice on a really small story that can then grow into a bigger story. But don't like start making your epic graphic narrative on like day 1, let's go. Like practice with some small stories.
Yes. What's it? There's going to be a microphone. Yeah. Thank you.
My question follows up on a couple of your questions, and they're regarding how you depict other people. So what needs to be factual about that? And are there times when you don't depict something that happened in the past because it would compromise the other person's confidentiality?
For me, just punch me in the arm if you were like, I wanted to talk first at any point. And you too.
I think this relates to your work mostly, yeah.
Well, because for me, I had a lot of people doing dirty stuff for a long time, so I had to think about this. I had to go through like a legal department too. So there's a lot of things. There's one, it's like, what's the relationship you want to have with that person? Because like, my mom, I was like, I just need to tell this story and she's not gonna like it, and I just need to tell this story. I wasn't allowed to talk about her mental diagnosis, and you're not allowed to talk about other people's diagnoses, other people's medical situations like pills and stuff, because that's legally not allowed. And it just feels unethical. Like you can say a lot about your emotional truth without like that. And also I try not to depict other people's trauma. So like if somebody else was like, here's what your mom did to me, and it's some horrifying thing that they don't know I'm writing about, I'm not going to write about it. And I will, if I think someone's going to be shady in any way in my work, I will give them I'll give everyone a pseudonym, but if I think they're going to do something egregious, I'll also try to change up some physical details in it so that people won't see them on the street and be like, it's you.
I would say if it's somebody that you want to have an ongoing relationship with, what I do, my work doesn't deal with people who have wronged me as much as Nicole says, but mostly it's pretty positive stuff for friendships, but sometimes pretty salty things people say, and I'll show it to them before I publish it. I'll show them the penciled version, so like the thumbnail draft, and be like, here's what I'm drawing, how do you feel about it? And then depending on what they say, I can decide if I want to change it or not. Like, that's your prerogative as the artist to be like, I'm going to tell this story, or to say, I'll incorporate your feedback. Thank you for your complaints, you know? So I think you can show them a draft, see how they feel, if you want to keep them in your life. Yeah.
Let's do one quick short one. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, from the other one, another great way to learn memoir is to take a class. And I think there's a lot of teaching experience on this panel. So I just wonder, like, what's something that you learned the hard way that now as a teacher you get to people sooner to help them kind of level up?
Don't ink it unless it's been edited, even though that's the most fun part. I know it's the most fun part. I'm sorry, but don't ink it. Yeah. Calling Dr. Laura could have taken 2 years, but it took 5 years because I inked it with no edits. And then after I finished inking 200 pages, they were like, can you redraw it at a different perspective or different size, which I couldn't do. So then I left and found a new publisher who was like, well, we have edits on this fully finished book. And it just don't. I know you want to. Have some other place to get your yayas out inking, but your book, especially like if you're working on your stuff, please, for the love of God, do it in pencil first.
It's scripting, thumbnailing, penciling. That's where you want to get your feedback to, not so much with the inking stage. So.
For you guys?
I think for me, it's been to like just continuously remind myself and remember to have other projects than your main project, because you'll burn out. It happens to me all the time. And so sketchbooking is actually something I'm always telling students to get into. I think sketchbooking can be like one of the best inlets, especially for memoir work. Flea began as just sketchbook pages in a cafe after I would see my family or something and need to like brain dump and get it out of my body.
Yeah. I think it's pretty stressful to publish work that's really personal to you. So my advice to myself and to you would be to draw something. It can be, and like sit on it for a minute. Draw and don't publish it immediately, but have a friend look at it, have 3 friends look at it, so that by the time you publish it, you're like, I know that 5 people have read this and they've kind of signed off on it. So even if you don't have a publisher, just have your friends read your stuff and wait like a little while before publishing it so that you can process more before it's out in the world.
And I'll just say quickly, ask other comic creators what they read and read those things, because they'll have read stuff that you haven't even heard of. That happens to me all the time. And just, immerse yourself and read as much as you can, and see how other people solve some of the design and narrative problems that you're encountering as you do your own work. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you, this incredible panelists.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah. Thank you again, and so thank you all. You're awesome. Beautiful.